The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
Located between the Andes and the Chilean Coast Range, the Atacama Desert is an environment unlike any other. While a majority of the area often records less than 1 millimeter of rainfall a year, there are locations that experience 0 recorded rainfall. While this seemingly arid wasteland is home to many forms of indigenous wildlife who have adapted to the harsh climate, the desert also holds a wealth of valuable minerals and metals. The landscape itself is often said to be an extremely close resemblance to the blasted terrains located on the planet Mars. In 2003, while exploring an abandoned mining town, an amateur collector came across a startling discovery. Within an unassuming leather pouch and wrapped inside a piece of simple white cloth were the remains of what seemed to be a 6-inch long humanoid. Once the skeleton was confirmed to be an actual biological organism, scientists and researchers raced to find an answer to the origins of this tiny being. This case file joined the theorists as they find a tiny bone to pick with the Atacama Alien.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing. Case file 230, the Atacama Alien. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're all deaf.
Yeah.
That's as per usual.
Brain
just blew out our eardrums collectively.
Yeah, it's going to be great when we finally get benefits from Big Theory and we all need hearing aids.
There's literally, those I forget what they are, but basically those infomercials or whatever you get after your show, and it scrolls on were you ever in the military in 2005? Have you ever listened to Alien Theorists Theorizing between 2017 and 200?
You may be entitled to compensation.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone who's listening in their car with the fucking volume crank just gets rocked.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having headphones in. Fuck that.
Yeah. Good thing we're a limited liability.
No, it's okay. We put a massive compressor on that scream at the start. And it's not too bad.
It's because I was dying from sneezing right before we went on.
It was a combination.
It was bad. The Atacama Alien. This was a really fun one to research. Actually, it started off as I was like, are we talking about that little baby? The little baby skeleton? And I was like, I've seen pictures. I've seen Greer hold it or some shit. I knew I've seen it or heard about it before. Dude, it plays out like an Indiana Jones.
That little baby that looks exactly like Beavis.
Yeah.
It's got the exact same proportions as Beavis.
Yeah, is that the baby Beavis?
Yeah.
Skeleton? But it plays out like the beginning of it, plays out like a movie, like how this thing is changed hands and stuff.
Started Indiana Jones, man.
Yeah, it's a very cool case. And it surprised me too, because whenever it seems like a lot of the stuff we talk about, it's always way back in the day, right? Everyone involved's dead. This is from 2003. right? So it's like I was in
Not bad.
what, grade 10
Yeah, probably 10.
when this thing was discovered. So not that long ago. Pretty surprising. And you know what, to be honest, I've probably, because I was always into like UFOlogy and stuff like that. And I remember, Stephen Greer and stuff. And he obviously does a documentary called Sirius.
Yep.
And it's featured in that. And so I've definitely seen, clips of it. And I've seen, if you haven't seen the Atacama Alien, # look it up.
It looks like an alien.
100%. It definitely, like, it looks like the little dude that's controlling the big dude in fucking in Independence Day, right?
Yes.
Like when it's
Right.
inside the head and it cracks open, like, it looks just like it.
I 100% guarantee that if you follow any UFO alien accounts on Instagram, any social media, you've seen this. Like, you've seen a picture of it. It's always thrown up on there.
This looks like a miniature alien. Tiny little 6-inch green, bony alien.
Yeah, I mean, it is a skeleton. Like, it is just a like desiccated skeleton. And then if you look exactly at it, you're like, this is what I would imagine a tiny alien fetus might look like. Like, that's what it resembles. Like, right off the bat when you look at it.
It is very fetusy.
It's true.
Like, they definitely went
Fetus-
underneath that fucking park
fetus
bench
is-
and stole Voldemort's fetus and buried it in Chile.
Yes.
That's what it looks just like.
It looks like this fetus's last words were Nikini.
Yeah, exactly.
So like Brayden said before, the saga of the Atacama Alien starts in 2003, named so by where it was found in the Atacama Desert, which is one of the most driest places on Earth, I believe. Like, it's
If
claim to
not
fame.
the driest, yeah.
A fun little caveat about the Atacama Desert that I kind of got into is that scientists study the Atacama Desert because they say it's most comparable to life on Mars,
Yes.
Yeah, the atmosphere
Yes, that is correct.
is
Yeah.
super similar to Mars.
right? It's
Right,
like
the
super
terrain and everything.
terrain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can't remember, did they like set
Interesting.
up like a base there and they were like, they simulated Mars living,
they're
or
like,
they were going to. I
they're
can't
like,
remember.
fuck, it's dry.
It's so dry.
I could use a Pepsi.
It's the equivalent of eating
Quench
a whole
my
pack
thirst.
of saltines without any water.
Yeah.
So during that year, apparently they call him amateur collector, but it could also probably be interchangeable with grave robber
Or relic hunter.
or relic hunter. Sure. Maybe tomb raider, even if you wanted to get that far down.
He's a jack of all trades, master of none.
Named Oscar Munoz, apparently was exploring a ghost town there that was, I guess it used to be what did they say it was? Like a nitrate mining.
Yeah,
or something?
potassium nitrate
Like
mining
potassium
area.
nitrate mining area. And he said he came across something wrapped in a white cloth inside a leather pouch that had been abandoned near there. In this town.
Somebody lost
known
their
as
lucky fetus.
Lenoria. Yeah, I just forgot it.
My precious. Because that's
like
why
a rabbit's foot or a
that's why the
penis.
skull's so smooth. Because just
Too
thumbing
fucked
it.
up. This is too fucked up.
It's always in his pocket.
Well, I mean, when I first saw it, okay, I immediately thought, okay, so you have the alien fetus, but it's the alien fetus fetish.
Fucking
Because,
keychain.
like, fetish in the sense of like a little like kind of voodoo doll, those
Right.
kinds of things that you
Right,
think
right,
about.
right.
You know,
Yes.
that's what it reminds me of. Like, kind of it's one of those things. Somebody was either keeping it around for good luck,
good
I
luck.
guess, or
You gotta rub your
something
fetus,
like
man.
that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he unwrapped this object and find it in there. This 6-inch long skeleton, 6 inches, very like not even that big, like that big.
Hey, whoa. 6 inches is pretty fucking big, man.
Like
Yeah,
a tall
that's
boy.
tons.
It's like a tall boy
Yeah.
can.
It's pretty
That's
big.
actually a little
slightly
bit over
larger
the
than
global
average.
average.
I'd say so.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But the people who examined it, following his discovery, they found it to be unusually developed for what it seemed like the size that it was. It had hardened teeth. It had 10 ribs instead of 12, which is extremely rare, and it's a feature that has never been seen in humans before, according to the scientists who looked at it. And it had these large eye sockets with this elongated, pointy skull. So if you look at the picture of it, like the skull goes all the way up into like a ridged point almost at the top.
I can't say this enough that when you look at it, the first thought in your brain, you're like, yeah, that motherfucker looks like a little alien. Like
100%.
Without a doubt. You're not looking at that going like, well, maybe it looks no, it's not. It looks like an little alien baby.
So wait, it had hardened teeth?
That's what they said.
Yeah.
That was one of the features that they remarked about it.
Super weird.
So
it's like a full set of dentures in there.
So then shortly after, I guess Oscar, I guess either the media got a hold of it or somebody got, rumors of this alien looking, extraterrestrial looking skeleton kind of got out into the open, or, reached the certain channels where apparently an anonymous private collector from Spain came to put this thing in his private collection.
And unfortunately, though, from what I understand, is Oscar wasn't he wasn't the owner of this fucking this little baby, this little fetus alien thing anymore. He'd sold it prior to this, didn't he?
I
he
believe
sold
so.
it to prior somebody, the go between him and them. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to keep that. I would offload it as soon as I want because I don't want that.
Which he did, but he kind of offloaded it to not like. Let's be honest. Like if you found something wild like this, right? You're gonna probably call a few people, call the parents, be like, listen, I got this crazy fucking thing. I'm gonna call Ripley himself, be like, you're not gonna believe this. Ripley.
I have an alien.
All right, you're not gonna believe this, dude.
Do I have something for you?
Yeah,
I got Ripley on speed dial. Yeah.
But no, our good old boy Oscar didn't make it that far. Where did he end up selling it?
The fucking nearest bar.
Some Star Wars cantina.
I heard it's Chile's only hookah bar is where he sold it.
Did he now?
And,
Is that
and he
what it
obviously
was?
made a
That's
he obviously made a
interesting
big
part.
profit.
Do we-
He
Do
must have
have
made
a-
huge money for it.
Do we happen to have audio of that transaction?
I think
I think
Do
we
have
have.
it somewhere.
I think we have a legit a security cam recording of the whole incident.
Welcome, my friend. Come in. What can I get for you? You want Pepsi? Can I get you Pepsi?
Oh yeah, sure. I'd love a Pepsi.
Mohammed! Yalla talahan! Get this man a Pepsi!
Get your own damn Pepsi!
No, he's a paying customer, Mohammed. Yalla, get him a pizza.
Pepsi!
He wants Pepsi.
Well,
Sorry.
about the paying part.
What do you mean? You don't have money while you waste
I would
my
like to
time?
offer you an interesting proposition.
Well, okay.
What
It's
if I
weird,
told
but-
you that in my possession I had a rare relic, an antiquity of unbelievable value?
What do you mean? I got a lamp. I got whatever. What do you need? What? I don't. Tell me. What do you have? What is
Sir,
special?
what I have in this handkerchief will change the course of human history.
Oh, okay, let's go, buddy. You're wasting my time.
In this handkerchief, I have an alien fetus.
Ali, you have Ali. What do you mean alien? Let me see this alien.
Notice the 10 ribs.
The 10 ribs. My cousin Mohammed had 10 ribs. I'm not special. Let it come on.
Sir, the elongated
Alien.
skull.
Look at the alien. What you mean alien? This is a pickle baby. What do you mean alien? A pickle baby is in your hand.
Sir, this is undeniable proof of
Undeniable proof. What you talking about?
life in other...
You're telling me a pickle baby. I see pickle baby everywhere I go. Downtown, last week, tomorrow I see pickle baby. My cousin Saeed, he make a pickle baby. You want to... Mohammed! What does Saeed make? What does Saeed make?
Saeed make a pickle baby!
See, I tell you, look, my cousin Saeed make a pickle baby. Not impressed.
Sir, this will bring thousands, hundreds of thousands of people will want this. It's priceless.
Look, you have a nice face. You have a very nice face. You come to me today with my store. I get it. Okay, you come, pickle baby. It's nice. Okay, I like you, nice man. I'll give you $65 for big.
Sold.
$64 minus your Pepsi, obviously.
Deal.
You take the. Okay, good. Take it. Go before I change my mind, pickle baby boy. Get out of here.
Then,
And that's how the Atacama Alien was first acquired from the...
we
But
have
then I think we have the
somebody else
further
buy it?
audio too.
The audio continues.
Sir, Hi there.
What can I do
I'm
for you? You're very quiet. What can I to speak up? I cannot hear you. What can I do for-
I'm a private collector from Spain.
Okay, yeah. You want Pepsi?
And I've heard.
You want Pepsi?
Well, yeah, I'd love a Pepsi actually.
Mohammed!
What?
Get this man a Pepsi right now. Yalla imshi. Come on.
I told you, get your own damn Pepsi.
He's kapayr. Have a Pepsi.
Sir,
what?
along with the Pepsi, I've heard you've acquired a certain relic or antiquity that
pickle
I'd be
baby,
very yes.
You come for a pickle baby, huh? Yeah, you like a pickle baby.
Well, the alien.
Alien. Yeah, not a pickle baby. You know, pickle baby. Alien. We have an alien for sure. You want to see?
Yes,
You want to see that?
I would be very.
Mohammed! Grab the pickle jar with the baby.
Pickle
You're not a
baby.
pickle baby. Grab it. Yalla, imshi, talaon.
Pickle baby coming.
Wallah. Alien. Don't worry, pickle baby.
Sir, I would be very interested in acquiring
Well, we'll see.
this alien from you.
It's very my pickle baby, my alien, very special to me. Okay, it's very special. But today you're lucky because it's going to. I'm telling you right now, you're a crook. You're a crook. You steal it from me. You come to my place. You're stealing my. I'm going to give it to you today. Number one, good only. It's the only good price today. You're stealing to me, but you have nice face. So I'll give you a number one good price.
Name your price, sir.
100,000.
I'll take it.
Mohammed, grab a pickle baby, wrap him up, wrap and make it nice. Get this man.
Do you want them in a jar?
Yeah, put it in a jar.
Jar.
Sir, I'm sorry. You still have to pay for the Pepsi.
99,999.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that you would find something that looks like this and you would just offload it for $64 fucking dollars.
That's crazy to me.
It's
I'm
Oscar.
sorry. I think Oscar had a fucking habit, dude. Oscar's needing to get a fix real quick.
I think Oscar was.
The scene is just like Indiana Jones. You're waiting for this guy to come out and he's about to fight a guy who's just wielding a fucking scimitar and then he just shoots him. That's what I'm waiting for here. That's the next scene right now.
It blows my mind that you would find this. And the thing about this area in Lenoria is like a lot of people in Chile, because all this whole area is all abandoned. All these mining towns and communities like around are abandoned. And, you know, there's talk of specters and shadow people and ghosts. And there's all these local legends.
Dude, zombies.
And yeah,
That's
zombies.
the biggest thing. They talk about the fucking zombies in this place. And oddly enough, too, like this the pickle baby was found like right next to an old abandoned church.
We should change the name of this.
It's pickle baby.
I'll put it in
230.
I'll put it in
230
brackets.
pickled babies.
It's a pickle baby. Pickle
babies.
Pickle baby.
But you know, so lots of people didn't go into this area because they were worried about spirits and
Zombies.
People in South America are very superstitious.
Not just a little superstitious.
Superstitious.
Very
So-
superstitious.
It's one of those
writing's on the
things
wall.
where
There you go.
you're going.
Pickle babies in
You're
a
going.
hole.
This person goes and he's basically grave robbing. Right, that's what he's doing. He's digging in churches and cemeteries, and he's obviously looking for, you know, buried jewels and gems or whatever, or jewelry that's buried with people. That's like let's be realistic here. That's what you're looking for, right? And you find this thing that looks. You look and you're just like, holy fuck, what the fuck is this? And then to go and be like, oh yeah, hey, what do you? You're like, you know, what do you got? What do you got in the register? 64 done. Here you go. To me, I'm like, that part of the story right away. I'm like, what? Like just looking at this thing, I would pay $70. Like without a doubt.
We each paid $30 to go look at the Minnesota Iceman. So
Yeah.
So it's true.
so they find this thing. It changes hands. We've talked about it. Ends up in a movie, Sirius, and they do some testing on it. So where's the story go from here?
So the 2000 documentary Sirius covers a lot of the discovery and things. Like studies have been done on the now I'm going to say pickle baby. Like stuck in my head. The Atacama Alien had been performed since then, but like back then, like we said, the skeleton was in the possession of this private collector in Spain, which I don't think has ever really been named about who had this. I don't know. You would want anybody to know your name if you're collecting you had a whole collection of pickle babies.
Pickle
I don't
babies.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, Stephen
You
Greer,
got
everybody's favorite.
You just got a whole
desert-
room of jars.
Everybody's favorite desert ufologist and government insider. Stephen
You've got
Greer.
you have the beanie baby. Everybody have a beanie baby. I have a pickle baby.
So prior to the release of the movie, like during the production,
Stephen Greer flew down there and he's like, I'd like to see it. And he pulls out his Lexus keychain. He's like, unscrews the tie. There you go.
they actually started work on this. They started a study in 2012 where Gary P. Nolan, who is an immunologist at Stanford University and became lead researcher on the project, he had heard about this, the production of this documentary, and got in contact with the director, Amardeep Kalika, and set up or at least requested to be able to perform DNA testing on this fetus or whatever, the skeleton itself, the remains. So Nolan reached out to them and offered to, sequence the DNA, kind of figure out what this thing is, since it's an extreme curiosity. And the skeleton's owner, which at the time was the Spanish collector, apparently sent Nolan X-ray images and actual bone marrow samples, which I think he said was like a cubic millimeter of
enough for
the
DNA
bone or something.
Well, Greer actually travels there, right? And he collects the samples himself. Like, he's there for the X-rays. If you watch the documentary, and they're there, it's funny because the whole movie's subtitled, and anytime someone speaks Spanish, they just go speaking in Spanish, and I'm like,
wow.
Well, I'm sure
don't
you
even
could
subtitle it.
right? I'm sure you could have figured what are they saying? But so it shows them doing the X-rays and stuff, and then Greer and his partner, that's for some reason always dressed up to protect Stephen Greer's life, in full body, security armor.
Was his name Dragon?
Yeah, no, possibly. They actually do that, and it shows them. Greer's the one that takes the sample from the skull and stuff. So he actually does it. Because when I was first reading this, I was like, well, how do they know they even got an actual sample from this thing sent to Gary? And then when you see Stephen Greer actually handling it, you're like, okay, so there was a little bit of a chain of custody of the sample. Like, It's not just like it gets it in a fucking USPS fucking envelope, right? Like, here, 2 pickle baby sample.
Well, and Greer's he used to be a trauma surgeon or something like that, didn't he?
He was some
he was
type of legit.
He was a legit doctor.
Emergency room or something.
Yeah.
So he probably had some experience, dealing at least with
his I'll say
kind of
this,
stuff, biological samples and whatnot.
His hands are very shaky watching him take
Well,
this.
it's been a long time. I mean,
Right.
holding the weight of the truth on your shoulders for so long.
It's funny at a large portion of that documentary is talking about, the dead man's trigger and how, there's threats on lives, and, they've got a cache of information that's ready to be released. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you just if you have such good information that can't get out, wouldn't you put that in the documentary? But hey, I'm just a humble person that paid $2.99 to watch.
Well, you can direct your own documentary.
He's saving it for the perfect time, the perfect release.
And just so everyone knows, big media, I have a cache of a bunch of information that's ready to go out at any moment if anything were to befall me.
A lot of information to go out, not relevant to anything.
So once Nolan received the samples, he performed an initial analysis, and he said that the initial analysis suggested that this skeleton, which they had named Atta after Atacama, where it had been discovered at this point,
Creative, fitting, were
actually human with, surprise, surprise. And then the estimated age with the bone age, what he had was the age of 6 to 8 years at the time of death.
Which is
6 inches tall.
Insanity.
6 inches.
Because with the size of this, 6 inches tall, if we were to kind of guesstimate, let's say that is about the size of a 15-week old fetus, right? That's
maybe, yeah.
Right? And to say that this thing has lived 6 to 8 years after being prematurely born after fucking
So its bones were like
15 weeks?
as dense as like a 6 to 8 or something? Or how do they?
One of the big telltale, right, is like we have what's called like the epithelial plates, right, which are basically like our growth plates.
Sure.
Right. So that's how we can measure bone age and a lot of joints and stuff like that. And this kid was already at the point of advancement of a 6 to 8 year old.
He's 6 inches tall, or they are 6 inches tall, whoever this little being is.
In an interview with BBC News, Nolan apparently was quoted saying there was proportionate maturation of the bones, making the body look more mature despite the fact that the specimen was itself small. This discrepancy drove much of the research, so we believe that one or more of the mutated genes was responsible for this.
If that's a mutated gene, that's got to be like a super rare mutation to have like that accelerated bone growth.
It's a novella mutation, right? Because these are mutations that people have never seen. Like that's not the only one, right? The bone age is not the only mutation that you've seen. Like where is it? I think it was 64 this pickle baby carried 64 genetic mutations.
Yeah.
Wow. Some of which have never been seen.
It's an extreme curiosity like before, even though it wasn't determined to be an extraterrestrial, the mutations that they had seen in the skeleton and the genome of this, when they managed to reconstruct the actual most of the genome, they discovered that it was a female. It had been female. They said that it was, they could at least tell or seem to be able to tell that it was related to indigenous Chileans.
They did some 23andMe or whatever?
Absolutely.
Yeah, basically. And then they said, but she also had
haplogroups
and had substantial amount of European ancestry. So that probably would have been just any kind of mix. Well, that would have been any kind of mix, like Chilean, most Chileans. I think, how most Mexicans now have European ancestry since you're a mix of between the indigenous population and Europeans when they came over here. So that wouldn't be too surprising, like to me, to find that out. But
in the documentary, one thing I thought was weird, in the documentary, there's two things, and this struck me as odd, so I watched it back twice. One thing Gary says is, he goes, with these genetic mutations, whatever this is a one of a kind. We've never seen it before. That's fact. One of a kind. We have no idea. The second thing that I thought is, I watched it because everything that I was reading said, Ada was a girl, Ada was a girl, Ada was a girl. In Sirius, midway through, Gary goes, we have this genome and we can say without a doubt it was a male. And I went, everything I read said it was a female. And I'm like, what? And so I'm like, in this documentary, he says it was a male. And I was like, what the fuck? What? Everything I read said female. I was so thrown off by that.
Maybe he misspoke. I'm not sure, but
that's weird.
But that isn't the end of the whole story. So that was the original. This was like I said, this is the initial assessment. But
the thing with that, but I just want to touch on really quick, Dan, is that Gary doing this, like he was a pretty well respected guy, absolutely shit on by his peers for working with this documentary. Right,
but he was just like, as a scientist, was very intrigued of what this thing was. He just wanted to know.
I thought was pretty shitty that everybody was kind of piling on him.
He doesn't say anything one way or another.
No.
I think he's pretty interested in this field though, because he currently works with To the Stars Academy.
Right.
Right? Like he's into this kind of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he seemed genuinely interested, and I mean, to see this thing, but I think there were other scientists that they talked to, other peers that they talked to, that said that, this is a genuinely strange, this is a generally strange case, and anybody would be interested in just looking at it, because why not? Like if it's something that's weird,
dude,
we have the resources.
Just from the medical, the so many mutations, just from that alone, forget ET, alien, anything. Just if you found that and had that many mutations, that it should spark massive interest in the field, you would think.
Yeah. And some of them, I think some people kind of misconstrue a couple of things. There's one there. So anyway, there was a 2018 study that was done, and this got brought into the mix, and it was published in July of 18th of that year in the International Journal of Paleopathology. And so an international team of experts called into question the methods and the conclusions that Nolan and his team had come to during their first research. But
it's hard to get on his ass about it too, because he brought one of the things Nolan was open about right from the beginning is he's like, I brought in other experts. Like he brought in a developmental pathologist to come take a look at this. And we watched him in that we watched the developmental pathologist stand in front of a fucking, a fucking group of his peers and be like, this is fucking crazy. Way more eloquently than I said it. But he's like, we've never seen anything about like this before. This is fucking nuts. Like, even if we know that this is human, but like there's still that 8% or 9% of DNA that's unaccounted for. And we've never seen anything like this before. It's fucking crazy.
And this, I don't know, some people would take this paper, like if you read this paper, some people would kind of be like, oh, these people are like, they're shitting all over Nolan, they're all of his research and stuff. They're just saying, hey buddy, like you effed up, like, and all this. But I still believe that this is really just a product of the peer review process. Like if you read the paper, they're not like combative. They're not like they're not telling him he's exactly wrong, but they're saying that the things that you found, they said that they studied in their expertise under their, observations and study of the genome. They suggested that there was no evidence for skeletal anomalies and that the mummy's bizarre features of what it looks like could have possibly been a process, it could have been happened by geological and birth processes. Like this is something natural that the deformation of the head could have happened during birth. The way that the skeleton looks, like those things could have happened if it were like we're buried in a very, one of these places, like a very underground, dry place like this. It wouldn't be impossible for this to
what
do.
About the ribs?
They didn't. I don't think they mentioned everything about the rib, but they're saying that just
the cranium,
the superficial stuff,
the cranium stuff. If it was like a full size baby, yes,
it would be deformed. But it's only 6 inches.
Because I watched my daughter be born, and her head went straight up and then to the left, like it was like a
cone,
a crooked cone. And I was like to the doctor, when does that go away? She's like, oh, by tomorrow. And I was like, and sure enough, it just like kind of just fell back down and it was fine.
That's very malleable.
It's super weird.
So that's that's at least kind of one of the things I think the general consensus that kind of changed from the first initial study in 2012 to like, again, they've been studying this thing. Like people have been looking at the data and the results of the research for, 6 years after the fact of this study. And so people have been looking at, which I think is neat because people have been generally interested. So they've been looking at it. And so, again, this 2018 study that people cite as kind of like either, is criticizing or criticism, which I think are, they could be, they're valid criticisms, being like, they thought that perhaps that they were, the conclusions that they came to in the initial one were based on misunderstanding of fetal development. Like Zell said, like it's very possible that, the head it did get whacked out like that. And then
it's so
at the
small.
end of the 2000, right. And when they originally
Here's a question,
said that
though,
it was like,
just to interject there too, right? Like the reason why baby Zell's head was shaped like a cone is due to the having to go through the birthing canal. This thing's 6 inches long. That thing could slide the fuck out.
Yeah, it was my daughter
right?
was,
like
it's a watermelon through a donut hole, and this thing would have been just like
it would have just
came right out.
Yeah.
You would think. One thing that does answer for me is they're like, oh, I had like the teeth. And like, so if the gums, because some babies are born with some teeth.
I was born with teeth. So was my son.
There are teeth, like they're not like obviously not protruding through the gums in most cases, but sometimes they are. So they're probably in there. So if the gums retreat and like, decay, I could see the teeth like being preserved. So in that way, maybe.
I feel like you've got experts that are coming in to, analyze this fucking specimen. You don't think somebody like, especially the developmental pathologist, that's what he deals with. He wouldn't be like, listen, this does, this looks like a normal fetus at this week's. That being said, like we don't have any explanation for the bone maturation.
Right. But that's one of the kind of things I think they said that, because I was reading different reports
like
and like getting through
maybe?
well, I think they said that they they kind of reassessed the age of the thing because it originally went from like 6 to 5 years is what they estimated the age of the fetus to probably be, or that skeleton. They said it could have been 6 to 5 years. And then when they went back, they said that this thing could have been, it was very close to being like pre-birth or shortly after birth. Like there's no way this thing could have survived with the amount
I mean, just looking at it, you can just go like, there's no way this thing was an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Unless it's a hybrid.
Right?
What do we know about hybrids? Nothing.
That's one of the first
Nothing.
thoughts I had is like the thing about Chile and a lot of these South American
Dude,
countries
Chile's a
is like,
hub for UFOs.
dude, such a hub for UFOs and abduction stories that my thing was, I'm like, okay, so let's if there was some sort of ET race out there trying to do a hybridization program, right, where they were trying to make hybrids, maybe this is one of the ones that failed.
Okay. Check this out.
Checking.
So maybe it is a hybrid of sorts. But if we're going to go back, and this is, again, I talk about my favorite theory all the time. Let's bring it back to Dr. Michael Masters. This is the reason why it's human, because it is a human. It's just a fucking human from the future.
A tiny human.
Right? That has developed the Nyetni, right? So maybe at some point we've developed, a shorter gestation period. Let's say because maybe the head grows too large, and that's why that head was a little bit misshapen, because the head's going to be too big, and it gets, develops past a certain point where you won't be able to deliver that baby naturally. Right? Maybe part of that development is like they found a way to rapid the fucking, the maturation of the fetus, so the bones look like that of a 6 to 8 year old, so it's able to be more it's less useless when it's delivered, because we all know, like, look at animals that are able to walk when they're born. Babies, we're useless.
Baby chimp comes out, grabs onto the mom, off it goes. Boom.
Maybe
Right away.
that's part of this evolution.
Okay,
Ooh, I like that.
all right. In that case, just picture that for a second, that this woman who's perhaps been abducted gives birth to this thing that's moving. You know what I mean? Like, it's living, and she's like, whoa, what is this? Brings it to the church, and the father's like, Dios mío, right?
It's a fucking El Diablo.
Right? El Diablo. Just buries it. Right? He's like,
Kill it with a stick.
The Atacama Alien, Ada, it did also have what looked like a skull fracture, like it had been hit. Like it had like a hole in its
really?
head. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I didn't know that.
imagine so it almost looked like,
I mean, like, is it a hole, or is it like, because it, the head is just a bunch of fucking plates.
It looks like
at
a
that
hole.
point in time,
It
right?
looks like a hole.
It looks like a broken skull. It doesn't look
my
like it's
God.
not formed. It looks broken.
it was never said that could have happened any time after the death of this thing. But
It's never mentioned if
Never
like,
mentioned.
trauma had been. No, I don't think trauma. I think it would always been that
it's never
if this
mentioned,
thing did
but
not survive
not
birth.
mentioned either.
But that's straight theory. Like, but like
Never
then I could
ruled
see.
out.
Could you
Never ruled
imagine?
out.
Like, I'm just saying, like they bring it to the church and they're like, we have to. This is Satan, right? And it wasn't
We have to
uncommon
wrap
for
this thing in cloth and put it in a leather satchel and bury it.
yes, right? Like it's they don't really know the timing.
She wouldn't know she's pregnant potentially, right? Like, she'd be freaking out.
Maybe
Because in my head,
right?
well, that's it. Like, you'd be losing your fucking mind. That being said, even like, people went to the church in a lot of bizarre situations, and maybe she did know she was pregnant. She went there and like delivered this fucking demon baby, and they're like, we gotta get rid of this thing. This is
The pickle
not-
baby.
Yeah,
it wasn't a demon. We don't know how
perhaps
bad it was.
something like that happened.
Or maybe
And
go ahead, Dan.
perhaps they left it as in the past, probably they abandoned it somewhere, and it might have just, they had left it out in the woods or left it out in the desert somewhere for nature take its course.
And then, like, can't the desert kind of mummify you?
Yeah.
Like, can't that
100%.
climate mummify you?
I mean,
Yeah.
they found that like a lot of, for example, like the Nazca mummies and those things have been found in those areas. Desert mummies is very, desiccation happens
Well,
in those environments.
It would completely dehydrate you, right? So preserving you that way.
Yeah.
It's weird to me that it was at it's found, from what I've read and know, like, and again, it's not like we have Oscar to verify this. This is coming secondhand or stuff, but like all reports are, it's that it comes from like a area of a church, right? Like that's what I read. So I was kind of like, that kind of lines up for me, like in that theorizing of like you bring this to the church because you're like, ooh, what?
So
What's going on here?
while they found this one, the Atacama Alien, as it's become called, they found this one completely desiccated and it's just skeletal remains. There is another case of perhaps something similar happening in Russia, except this time what they found was alive.
Boom. And just before we get to that, we're going to take a short break, grab a beer, hold on to your butts. We'll be right back.
Because we're going to talk about some dance moves that are out of this world.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
So now we had the case of the Atacama, the desiccated remains that were found there. But like I said, just before the break, there is perhaps a more lively example of this, either perhaps some type of, people have alleged that this was another hybrid creature that was found in the summer of 1996 in a small Ural region city of Kishtim,
Dude, and
in Russia.
If Dan saying Ural sparks something in you, that's because one, the Ural Mountains is where Dyatlov Pass happened.
Yep. 100%.
So that's why, like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, that whole fucking region.
Something's up there.
What's
Something's
going
up.
on there, man?
So Kishtim, the city of, or the town, really, it's like a small town. It's maybe like 30,000 people live there. Is about 1,700, a little over 1,700 kilometers east of Moscow. And if you are even, you might not know this, but apparently I didn't know this until I actually looked at the city. But Kishtim is actually the name, or what is the commonly known name of the second most disastrous nuclear
meltdown
accident.
So
Yeah.
Chernobyl too.
In terms of release of radioactive material, apparently like one of the places there like had a really bad meltdown, and then you can look it up, like Kishtim disaster, and it is
Interesting.
like next to right after Chernobyl, like this was the second largest.
And this
disaster.
is why people don't want nuclear power, even though it could save us from all of our fossil fuel problems, is because a few bad meltdowns.
Hey, listen, if you listen to Stephen Greer, it's we have even better technology, but it's
Free
nuclear,
energy.
coal, and gas that are, it's $6 billion industry, and they'll kill to keep it.
Free energy, baby. They do anything to shut
So
it
I
down.
got to have caches of information ready to release if you die.
So apparently in 1996, a retired woman by the name of Tamara Prosperina was walking down the street. Apparently she had been spotted walking down the street with something covered in a blanket, and had been local villagers had seen her like talking to it, thinking that it was some type of it could have been they thought it was they didn't take it as anything unusual because it seemed to be wrapped up in about the size of an
It's a
infant
pickle baby.
or a pet,
It's not
or,
really a pickle
or it
baby.
could have
We're
been a cat or
sainted.
something like that.
Turns out Tamara actually had Voldemort.
So Tamara's daughter-in-law who's also named Tamara, and they refer to her in at least one of the documentaries that I watched. Or there was a short little kind of clip from Quest TV, which I think is like a British. It's kind of a British owned. I think it's part of Discovery, like it's part of like Discovery. But
Well,
they
it's
had
Disney, so they own everything.
They
so
own
it doesn't
everything.
surprise me.
Yep.
Do they own Discovery?
I think
Probably.
so.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure.
At this point, I just go, yeah, they probably own.
Why? I know Discovery. I think Discovery just bought like Warner Brothers or something.
They did,
There's a big,
yeah.
There's a big
They did.
acquisition. But I think Discovery. I never realized that Discovery is as big as it is, like Discovery Network.
Oh, then maybe it doesn't, because then if Discovery bought Warner Brothers, then it would be
yeah. Because if Disney owned Discovery, there'd be a Shark Week ride, and there's
Yeah.
no Shark Week.
No,
ride,
there's no Shark Week. Right?
Discovery is owned by Advanced Publications Incorporated,
which is probably just a big old.
which is a big old corporation, owns a bunch of shit.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
So they refer to her in the documentary or the video clip as a Tamara Jr., which I thought was interesting. But anyways, she told the story that her mother-in-law had been, I guess, walking through the woods near her house, like getting out, getting some, fresh air, or, as you normally do, I suppose, in a village of 30,000 people. And she had heard a type of like a mewling sound. And then
What does
when
that sound like, Dan?
Dan, give us a mule.
like that kind of sound, I suppose. Like that's what they make it sound
You
like.
should just add Foley work to your resume. Dan, Maester, educator, Mueller.
Foley artist.
Mueller.
So when she finally located the source of this sound, apparently there was this living creature that looked very much like some type of infant, but it wasn't human, is what Tamara Jr. claimed, which she said she was one of the first people to actually see what Tamara Sr. had been carrying around in that cloth, wrapped in that cloth.
Yeah, swaddled.
There are various number of reports, like, of people who, reading one article from one of the Russian kind of blog outlet or whatever that had a couple blurbs about the people who had seen it, and the reports of like descriptions of this, what they came to be known as the Kishtim dwarf. And it was like, people said that it had like, clawed fingers. Some people said it was covered with hair. Some people said it was completely hairless. Some people said that it had very large eyes. But the main consensus that you get from most of these, or the main impression that you get from most of these, is like, this thing wasn't human, or at least not all the way human.
Oh, fuck.
So, but
That's happening
Tamara
again.
Sr. began to take care of this creature, which she came to name Alashenka. And she was feeding, like, apparently she had been feeding it cottage cheese and condensed milk is what she had been feeding it, trying to take care of it.
Probably
or
lactose
whatever.
intolerance. It's going to kill it.
So she just finds this creature and just starts taking care of it.
Just brought it home and
Little
started taking care
fucking-
of it.
Like almost like a little fairy size, right? Like a little. How big is it? The same as as Ada? 6 inches?
I think it's probably larger, and it was probably about. I think it was larger than 6 inches. Like, it was probably about the size of like a premature.
So slightly
Born
bigger than
baby.
Ada. Not by
Probably.
much.
Yeah,
It's-
I mean, to today.
Does anything gross you
unfortunately, we'll
guys
get
out
into
as
it.
much as the word cottage cheese?
There's not much, honestly.
Honestly, I'll eat, like, there's a couple recipes that I make that call for cottage cheese and I put it in there.
Nope.
But every time I open it, I go like,
Want me to gross you out?
What is it?
I can eat a whole
right.
tub of cottage cheese.
Are you serious?
can.
Of
It's
course,
fine.
you're
I
disgusting.
like cottage cheese too.
That's
Tell
fucking
me I
disgusting.
can't
You
cottage
eat so
cheese.
much of it, you're the
It's
same
whatever.
color
That's a
as it.
very Eastern European thing. My relatives love it. I grew up eating cottage cheese, like just like a fucking
Just
dollop,
spoonfuls?
like a fucking dollop, like a big
good.
old dollop
So
of it. And just,
You're telling me right now that if I buy you the next time we're in town, if I buy you a little container of Dairyland cottage cheese,
No problem.
and I give you a big old spoon, you'll just sit on camera and just
I could eat that.
spoon feed
Just
yourself
don't,
some cottage
please.
cheese.
I would eat.
I'd
I would
fucking
eat that
puke.
container.
Oh,
But that's with potato salad
Nope.
and all that other
Raw.
nasty
Just
shit.
a fucking
What's
big-
wrong with potato salad?
yeah, all right, okay. Let's not get crazy. Your potato salad's fine.
Potato
All right?
salad's great.
Egg salad, no.
You can have that red skin potato
All
salad.
right, egg
that's
salad. I
fine.
put cottage
Rosemary
cheese in the
potato
same
salad.
realm of egg salad.
Hey, if your salad doesn't have lettuce in it, fuck you. All right?
Yeah.
I'm saying it right
salad.
goddamn right now.
I'll agree. It's a spread at that
Or-
point.
or
like chicken
parsnip.
salad, that's a spread.
Throw me a half-liter tub of cottage cheese and a 1 kilogram
about
bag
Greek
of
salad? Like-
McCormick's candy bananas, and I got myself a great old meal right there.
You got yourself some diabetes.
I fucking regurgitated a little bit at the sound of that.
Threw up in his
mix.
mouth a little bit right there.
But basically, this is what what Alashenko was. So she was on the Zell diet.
Yeah,
Zell
that was
diet,
primarily on the Zell diet. Now, before the Tamara Juniors got to look into this further, like she didn't know what this thing was. She was pretty sure, she had the impression that this thing wasn't human. Apparently, Tamara Senior fell ill and had to be put into a hospital. Now, when they took her to the hospital, apparently she left the baby in the flat and at her flat, and she tried to tell the doctors that she had left this thing at home, but they figured, they had assumed at that point like she was suffering from some type of mental health problem, and so they didn't believe her. So no one went to go check on Alashenko, and so when eventually Tamara Senior got a hold of Tamara Junior. To go check on the Kishtim dwarf, then by the time she reached there, Tamara Junior said this baby was already deceased.
Passed.
So she left there.
Just out of curiosity, did anybody else see this thing living, or is it just Tamara?
So there's a couple of reports that I found that pretty much the only people who saw it living were kind of either people who are already dead. There was two of them that I think went on record talking about like I said, where we got the descriptions of this Kishtim dwarf, the hair, these large eyes, things like this. And then there was another, there were two men, I believe, but these two men were also, I guess, locally known drunks, like town drunks. So you kind of have to take a
so she could have been just walking around with her lucky fetus.
Well, who knows?
And we didn't know if it was alive this entire time.
But those are the people who saw it apparently living. But I think Tamara is the only one who saw it in the actual apartment. Or Tamara.
I also had when I was reading this, I had a thought because I was kind of on the same wavelength as you, Andrew, where I was like, maybe this thing, whatever she found, whatever it had, that looked weird, and all accounts were like, what the fuck is that? Was maybe already dead, but maybe whatever relic or preserved thing was speaking to her telepathically. So she has some weird idol. That's kind of where my brain that's where I was kind of spinning. I was like, maybe this thing wasn't necessarily speaking or alive, but she was hearing it, whatever.
And that's what made her look crazy.
Yeah.
Because she was talking to herself. People were like, this chick's crazy.
Yeah.
So now in possession of as far as the chain of custody as the remains come. So you still have a chance to examine this, the body or the remains of this creature. And so one of the first people who became really interested in this was a police detective by the name of Vladimir Bendlin, who apparently is known by some newspapers. They called him the Fox Mulder of the Urals.
That's great.
And
Fox
so
Mulder
in his investigation, and they he investigated the remains, and by taking them to a local pathologist, and this local pathologist said that Alashenko wasn't human. And then apparently they got another doctor, a gynecologist, to weigh in and say that it was just a child with terrible deformation. So you have kind of two dueling kind of theories or assessments by both of these doctors.
The thing is that at a glance, if you're just looking, I think that's always it's easy to go that route. You know what I mean? When you have dueling theories, it's easy for someone to be like, no, it has to be this, just deformities. It's just
right. So from those, just going off of that, the assessment of it, there are video and there is pictures that survive of the Kishtim dwarf. If you look it up, there are pictures from, the media had kind of got a hold of it. And so there were some, news reporters, documentarists that managed to get this. But as for the remains themselves, a ufologist by the name of Boris Zolotov, a kind of well-known within the, well-known within the ufologist circles of Russia.
Guy's legit.
This guy's well-known everywhere, man. And they call him the Zolotov cocktail. His dance moves are so hot.
He he offered his services to help get answers as to what this was. So he offered Bendlin to take the remains off his hands and then take it for DNA testing in Moscow. Now, after retrieving the body, Boris reported that him and his assistant, while driving, away from, taking the remains to go be tested for DNA, apparently these are his own words. Like if you look in, again, this is off of this one video clip, but they had him actually interviewing him and saying that a UFO, full on spinning lights, some type of a floating object landed in front of his vehicle. They stopped the vehicle and the occupants took the body of Alashenka. Like they took it from him. And then, that's pretty much, that's as far as his description kind of goes. In other interviews, he goes a little bit, but he's kind of vague on how they took him. But they said that these beings came down and took the body and returned it to the sky.
They just dropped out of the sky in a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Took it from him.
That's according to Boris Zolotov.
So it was a fucking hybrid. We said it before. Same as the Ada.
So, and I guess you would have to go ahead and take Zolotov at his words, and he's deeply entrenched in the UFO world, because for a small, apparently he was there's a pretty great interview.
Unbelievable! I just posted the link.
That a local reporter, or that's like a reporter from Moscow, was sent to go interview him on the topic of Alashenka. And I think this was in, 2000, it's rather recently, maybe 2013 or something about that.
It was.
And he went to go interview him at, apparently Zolotov was holding some type of a retreat of some sort, a beach retreat. So, that's nice. And he was there with about, I think they estimated probably about 100 people, and they were charging him about 10 euros. For 10 euros, you could come down there and talk to Zolotov about his experiences.
And you hang out with him. Like you hang out with him. He's somewhat like, honestly, I want to use, he's running some sort of weird cult going on.
Oh yeah. Listen, as soon as I read this, I'm like, this has spinning and sinning written all over it.
Oh yeah.
He was rocking that Speedo.
Putin, man.
Yeah, dude.
Like he's got naked conga lines like coming out of the water. He's positioning. He's like, the reporter's like, yeah, we had a camera, but like Boris would only let the people with the nicest butts be in the camera shots with them. Like he's living his best life. Let's just say that. Freeloading.
It sounds like a good time. Just don't drink the fucking Kool-Aid.
Or drink it. Listen, I would pay 10 euros to go to this a day. No problem.
You might die. That's the whole analogy there.
So during this interview, the reporter specifically asked him about the remains of Alashenka, like what happened to them? Where did they go? And he says that, Zolotov was kind enough to kind of respond to the question, but vaguely, being that, again, his response remaining the same after all these years, being that it was taken. But he had another body that he was willing to show the reporter that was another hybrid of not only alien and human DNA, but dolphin DNA.
Get it.
What? Flipper to be specific.
Do we got a best of both worlds situation going on here?
Best of all worlds.
Best of all three worlds. The article kind of goes on to talk about, again, the experiences and the what's going on during this. The reporter was lucky enough to be offered, Zolotov was gracious enough to let him stay without having to pay the 10 euro fee and kind of participate in all the activities that they had during the thing. Maybe he thought it was good PR, or maybe to get the word out. I'm not sure. When he took him to go see the remains of this alien human dolphin hybrid, apparently it was just like in a spot, I guess, that it had been buried near the shore or something like that. And when they opened it up, I think Zolotov prompted the reporter to kind of reach out somewhat, reach out with your feelings, I guess, to reveal this thing, because there was nothing there, according to the reporter. There was nothing there, but Zolotov was adamant that there was it had been here or it was there, and that you
it wouldn't reveal itself.
It wouldn't reveal itself.
Yeah, because you guys didn't watch the instructional video first.
This is true. Zolotov did offer the explanation that perhaps it was a matter of not observing the proper rituals. The reporter said he had kind of declined to watch a long documentary produced by Zolotov, I suppose, about this. I
would love to get my hands on it. I would watch it entirely. It has to be better than Sirius by Stephen Greer.
I'd pay $30. I'd pay the same as we paid for the Minnesota Iceman.
There's a great bit in the article where the reporter's describing what I can only imagine in my head is a bunch of women twerking, to where Boris leans over and goes, "Do you see what is?" I gotta pull the quote. He pulls the reporter in and he goes, "Do you see those movements? Those are not earthly movements." Basically saying is those dance moves are out of this world, baby.
They're fire.
Yeah, because I think he claims that a couple of the participants are hybrids. Like he says that some of the people are hybrids or something like that. Like on the second day or something, the reporter said that he was when he arrived with him and his crew. I guess there was 2 other people with him. It was him and the cameraman, I believe, and they said that they were trying hard to keep their composure as they were approached by what seemed at first you could be like these human beings with these these elongated skull caps of some sort, but they were actually, I guess, some of the people that either had been hired by Zolotov to kind of
they're wearing fucking green alien morph suits and blue alien
blue
morph
latex
suits.
Full body suits with
dancing around
body paint
aliens.
Yeah. Yeah. Seems like it. I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
Pretty wild. You know, I mean, maybe they were portraying, this was their portrayal of the extraterrestrial hybrids that they, maybe it was their extraterrestrial selves. There wasn't a full on explanation as to why this was going on. But the reporter said that he didn't get to see the dolphin human hybrid or dolphin human alien hybrid
this time.
So were any of these aliens, these ET little creatures, sent off for any testing, or did they get any results? Like we got, at least from Ada, we got results that seemed to flabbergast some people, and some people said oh no, it's natural. But at least there was an interest, a real scientific interest in Ada.
So later on, because they didn't have any, there wasn't
Russia,
any. Yeah. Until recently, I think it was might have been 2018. I'm not quite sure about the year, but after they lost the actual remains, the primary remains of Alashenka, a Russian reporter stepped forward to claim that he had been contacted by a local woman who said that she was in possession of the cloth that Tamara Sr. had been used to wrap Alashenka. So when he brought it to the daughter, when he got his hands on it, he brought it to the daughter-in-law to positively identify the cloth. And she said, yes, this is the one that, this seems to be the one that my mother-in-law was using to wrap the child. And so this cloth ended up being taken to a Moscow lab that isn't necessarily named for DNA testing. And after these tests, 2 DNA traces were detected on the cloth. This is according to this Quest TV video clip. And they said that one was definitely female and the other was unknown to science. That's all it said. Unknown to science. There's
that's all we need. Unknown to science.
But that's a weird one too, because when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, well, in my head, when I was trying to think of why the fuck would you keep a cloth or handkerchief that you saw this woman carry this thing in, and there's 2 reasons. It's one,
it's emotional attachment.
Well, one, you're either you're full of shit and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna try to sell this as for hype, or the other is that you saw this thing and it was so mind-boggling to you that you needed to keep a piece of what you saw because it was so moving. I was like, that's the only reason. I was like, why else would you hold on to this thing? You know what I mean? I could, but if You know what I mean? Like if I saw someone holding a baby alien with a cloth and then that cloth was discarded, I'd be like, well, I'm keeping that fucking cloth. That fucking alien was in it. That thing I saw. Like that's the only reason where I could think of why I would keep a cloth.
Well, it's her adopted brother, Alashanka.
Dude, I'd be going to the cantina and selling that as a rare artifact. That's what I would be doing.
True. You might even be able to get $64 for
At
it.
least.
And a
60,
Pepsi.
70 bucks.
And a Pepsi.
Wild.
And a Pepsi.
And a Pepsi. But you got to pay for the Pepsi.
Yeah.
The thing about these things is I'm like, you know, we hear so much about like hybridization programs and stuff and like, you know, of ET species of that kind of thing. So like to me, when I look at the Ada alien, that's where like when we're going the alien route, like that's where I think that's early evidence of a hybridization program. That's not like those are tests. Like obviously it's not going to be perfect the first time. Like obviously they're having to, you know, figure things out if they're doing a hybridization program. So maybe these kind of things that we're seeing where these unknown to science, you know, Ada and Alashanka are early hybridization programs that just didn't work. They just didn't take.
Or just maybe some have taken and, you know, it's not 100%. So some take and some do not.
I mean, it's going to depend on the host.
On the host, yeah.
Because we've heard stories. You know, how many times have we read about a story about, you know, a sexy encounter and then someone being impregnated with a hybrid, but then they coming back and taking the hybrid. So what if these are like premature births of a hybrid that where the alien species hadn't had the opportunity to come back yet to retrieve the fetus, right? Or whatever. Because we've heard other stories about these kind of things where it's like, and then they'll come back and visit with the child, like as it's growing up, and they're like, oh, I saw the offspring, the hybrids in the spaceship, right? So maybe it's something like that where it's like it was, you know, a premature birth or something, but part of the hybridization program.
I mean, that would be, on this show, that would be one of the leading theories. I mean, it's just, the Ada one is really strange because it did spark like massive scientific interest, even though in the end nothing was truly concluded. There's still people are like, oh, there's all these anomalies.
But it is still a scientific. It still is a scientific curiosity. Like they said
exactly.
That a lot of the scientists who looked at it, especially when they they still were able to identify some sort of mutated genes that they had never seen before, and then there were. I think some of the conclusions they kind of put forth is that perhaps this knowledge would be able to be applied, especially with, we mapped the entire human genome just recently. Like we just celebrated that
like just
in the news and whatnot.
Like just, right? The last like few
the
percent.
Full, yeah. We had like 93% kind of done before, which was a big thing.
Bit.
And they did the last bit of a piece of DNA, unlocking everything, kind of identifying a lot of these things. So they said that these mutations, some which they had never identified before or never been kind of fully assessed, that these could probably lead to, discoveries in other parts of the DNA, like what caused these mutations, if other people pop up with these, if these occur in other humans, like you would be able to be like, we've seen this before. It's just something that's, it's still kind of interesting. And I'm sure there might be still a couple, there's multiple papers written about this, the analysis of the remains of Ata. So it is still kind of an interesting case.
The thing I want to circle back to that I found interesting in the beginning that I mentioned is that the Atacama Desert being so close of a climate to Mars. Right. And we've heard stories about, we've talked about it before. And, there's theories that, perhaps Mars was a civilization at one point and the planet destroyed and either, people came from Mars to Earth or whatever. But there was something when I was reading this where I went, that's a little bit curious that we find this thing that's so strange here in the one place on Earth that we say is most like Mars. I just found that as you have to take it with a heavy grain of salt, but it's one of those things where it just kind of stood out to me where I was like, that's an interesting little tidbit that it's like, we find this one thing that sparks so much UFO alien interest in the one place that we say is exactly like an alien.
As close to Mars as we can get on our planet.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention, this is they say that like in Chile, that is the place where you're most likely to witness a UFO. Plus, they have the Atacama giant as well, which is that face.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. That you can see from space. Right. Like there's a lot of weird
and
shit
they
that's
have
going on
the
there, right?
Atacama mummies, which we didn't touch on, but we will in a future case file. Now they seem to have
And if anybody
three fingers and they're weird.
Yeah. Those are the Nazca mummies.
Or Nazca, sorry.
Right, yeah.
But
we'll
close.
talk about those ones. But we do have an earlier connection that if people, I think we mentioned it in our Chupacabra episode, but in April 2000, after the Calama predation incident where they had newspapers ran stories about cattle mutilations. They said, some reported in like the hundreds. They say some Chilean UFO researchers had claimed that the military had found 3 chupacabra eggs in Chile's northern Atacama Desert. So, that was the whole thing that the U.S. government, they accused or alleged the U.S. government running like a hybrid program out of the Atacama Desert, some black site in the Atacama Desert. So,
well, that's interesting because maybe like imagine if it's something like where it's like not only are we trying to experiment with hybridizations with humans, but we're also trying to bring back Martian, animal life, right? And we're like, okay, well, it's close. Like, like this basically we think might be like a wolf. And you kind of, you know what I mean? You kind of do some Jurassic Park splicing and you're like, oh shit, chupacabra. Right?
we gotta, that's pretty much the plot that Species.
Species was a documentary, Dan, is what I'm saying.
That's what,
That's
I
what
think
we're saying.
we settled that. Yeah.
All great sci-fis are documentaries.
Yeah. Anything with Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley's in that, right?
I don't know. I'm not good with my pop culture there, but yeah, it's a very strange. There's a reason that it has stuck around for so long as like a topic in ufology and like ET studies is this. It had so many genetic mutations, whether those are super rare or maybe we haven't encountered enough to like really document all of these different mutations they have. But either way, people are still looking at it. It's been years and years now. And people are like, oh, the Atacama Alien. That's the hybrid. That's
or
the one.
As will now refer to from now on as the pickled baby.
Pickle baby.
Pickle baby,
baby in a jar. Yeah, it was a really fun one to look into because we said right at the start, it always pops up. You see the picture, you hear about it, you see it everywhere, kind of. And then when you really look into it, it actually is super, super weird.
And there will probably be, we'll probably talk about some other ones, but there are other good cases of this kind of thing too. We have the Roswell slides, which is kind of similar to this case from 2012. And then the Nazca mummies, like any of these kinds of strange remains kind of popping up of alleged hybrids, you'll always see. This is usually in there. Yeah.
You know what else I'm interested in? The one thing that really sparked my interest during this case was
Zoltov. Yeah.
Yeah, Zoltov. Was that? Yes. I will go to that retreat any day. But the one thing is this Spanish unnamed private collector because I'm like, what else does this guy have?
Right.
That's what I was interested in. Because I'm like, the Atacama Alien seems like a weird thing to search out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it seems very like you're like, all right, like this seems like you would a pretty niche collection for you to be pluck this out of Chile. Right away, I was like, one, how did this guy find? I would love to know how this guy found out about it and acquired it. We know how he acquired it. He bartered, but I would love to know how he found out about it, and I would love to know what else this guy who's that interested in acquiring things like this has in his private collection. Right? That's what sparked my interest.
It belongs in a museum.
It belongs in the Museum of Weird, little in a pickle jar right above the Minnesota Iceman.
Yeah. Needs its own exhibit. Yeah, wild case. Really fun. If you haven't, go look it up. # look it up.
Let us know what you think. Take a peek at that picture and let us know what you think.
Let us know what we got wrong on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, the Facebook group, Twitter. Now, our new one, TikTok. Your boys are on there.
Your boy.
Your boy.
Yeah,
on the
Your boy.
I'm not.
Boy,
taking on
there.
that.
Hey, you
Over
guys
there.
will be on there this Friday, baby.
Fuck
Yeah,
that.
we'll get on there. It's fun. It's fun. Different app. But yeah, we're everywhere. Everywhere you can find Alien Theorists. Let us know. Message us. We want to know your thoughts. All right. Who do we got for Theorite of the Week?
This week's Theorite of the Week is none other than Joseph Ashley.
Bam, bam.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm not even going to touch on the beautiful scenery of the world's largest glory hole that he shared these wonderful pictures of. But look at that fucking shirt he's wearing. Oh, he looks sharp. That's a sharp.
Yeah, he
tarp.
brought the Mongoose Files T-shirt to the world's largest glory hole.
Where exactly is that?
I have no idea.
It's like it's at a dam somewhere, right?
Yeah, sometime, and it's literally named the
It's
glory hole.
named
It's
it's like a glory hole, but it's a spillover glory hole.
It's Hungry Horse
Hungry
Reservoir. Hungry Horse Reservoir. I think I'm zooming as much as I can.
Hungry Horse Reservoir, Montana.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where the world's largest glory hole is.
Yeah.
That's his claim to. That's what they put on the.
It's so
plaque
funny.
right
Like
in front of it.
most dams have like a spillway like around it. This one just has like a giant glory hole. If it gets too full, it just fucking dumps into it, I guess.
And there was one of the comments at the very top was like, "Glory to all your holes."
Good shit. All right, if you want to be Theorite of the Week, all you gotta do, something that helps, something that promotes the show in that way, send us a meme or also a 5-star review anywhere you can review the podcast. Really helps the show. We appreciate it. If you're not supporting the show and you want the early access, the ad-free, all the other goodies, you know where to go by now. And if you don't,
Support the boys.
come on, what are you doing? Alientheorist.com.
For the small price of a few pickle babies.
Few
Come on.
pickle babies a
Yeah.
month, not a big
Yeah.
deal. Not a
Come on.
big deal.
Pretend you're buying a pickle baby a year. Sign up for a year. $64. Hey,
$64, not a
you
big
want
deal.
that? You want to get on that pickle baby tier? $64 a year. Come on.
Easy.
Oh, we got to add that.
Pickle
Yeah,
baby.
here we go.
Pickle babies. The
For
pickle
one
baby
pickle
tier.
baby a year.
Yeah.
You help your boys out. All right, this week's newest supporters, we got Derek, Manny the Great, Kelly Hendricks, Daniel Clouston, Savannah, Bite Bandit, Jack, good one, Meoff, Ass Rash. Wait, I forgot one at the top. This is a very important one, and it's my bad because I missed him before. We gotta give a big shout out to some hero from 513 and a big old RIP to his best friend who just recently passed away, to Abella.
R.I.P. Abella.
RIP.
R.I.P. to Abella.
Abella.
We got $5 per month by Maddie Seastack. $5 per month by Julian Brady Morris. Martin Stolp. Suzanne Manning. C. Wazau. We got a yearly pledge at $32.40.
One pickle baby.
That's half a pickle baby.
That's
You're
half
almost
a-
there,
half a pickle
JV
baby.
Williams. Half a pickle baby away. And one from Jennifer Staplin.
Thank you very much for supporting the show.
And as we always say at the end of these things, keep those eyes on the skies.
See you after.
Pickle babies for life!
Woo!
That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.